Hello, hi, how are you? It is very, very hot here. I would even use the word sweltering, even though it's kind of overcast, some might call. It's really warm, and I have the air conditioning off so you can hear me clearly because my priority is not the temperature of the room, but to deliver to you the cultural news that you need to know from around the world. And there is a lot of stuff happening. But before I get into that, I wanted to say that the Culturalist is now officially on Instagram. And I was very hesitant about being on Instagram because a, it's a lot more work for me, and B, I didn't know whether it would be valuable for the Culturalist to be on Instagram, but obviously it is. And so yes, we are on Instagram now, and yes, I'll be doing more work on that. So make sure that you follow us on the Culturalist Instagram. So it's the Culturalist and then underscore at the Culturalist underscore on Instagram. So follow us. You will be getting more updates on there. There'll also be extra content to do with like imagery and artwork and news that is not directly in the newsletter. But yeah, it's just another facet of the Culturalist. We're also on YouTube. I've had the YouTube channel for a while, but now that I'm doing more of these videos, I'm going to be posting these videos on the YouTube channel and then embedding them in the newsletter. So we're everywhere. Follow us, share, like, subscribe, comment, engagement. It's all about engagement. Yeah. So that is the plugin. And now I'm going to get to the news. And if you've noticed, these videos are not really edited. I'm not interested in having this very clean cut, edited thing. So I'm just going to sometimes ramble on. So apologies, but if you enjoy that, you're welcome. So in the world of art, climate activist douses Picasso with pink paint. On June 19th, a member of Last Generation Canada, an environmental activist group, splashed washable pink paint on Picasso's L'Atelier, I can't pronounce that, 1901. My French is abysmal, even though I studied French for like 7 years as a child. Anyway, story for another time. An environmental activist group splashed washable pink paint on Picasso's L'Arte 1901, which was protected by glass at the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts. The 21-year-old protester, Marcel, cited over 250 wildfires in Canada and accused authorities of prioritizing art protection over human safety. The painting sustained no damage, and Marcel was arrested for mischief. The sources for that was Artforum and the Art newspaper. Now, this is not the first time, this is not the first incident that we've heard or seen videos of. I don't think there's a video with this one, actually. There's just images of climate activists gluing themselves, chaining themselves, or throwing some kind of liquid onto really important, priceless artworks. A couple of years ago, I remember they did that with the Mona Lisa. There was a Van Gogh, I think, at some point. So obviously, this is a way for climate activists to bring attention to their cause and to be on the news, be on people's news feeds, and to just create noise about what they are protesting. And to that I say stop, please stop. Climate change, wherever you are on the spectrum of what you think climate change is and how it's affecting everyone, it is important. We should always be thinking about the environment and the climate. But this particular intersection between activism of climate change and artwork, I wholeheartedly think is annoying, frustrating, and it's a waste of time, and it's damaging. I mean, I understand that most of the time these activists are it's like a faux protest, a faux act, and that they know this work is protected by glass or whatever. It's just so they can create a buzz, make the news. But mistakes happen, things happen where you might actually end up damaging really priceless works of art, priceless works of art, priceless cultural artifacts that are really important. And not only that, this constant attack on these works is also going to beef up. Well, I mean, I think they should beef up security in museums and art galleries anyway. But it's going to ruin the experience for other people who are attending these cultural institutions. And also, it doesn't help your cause. I think that's what I'm trying to get to, is that maybe the first couple of times this happened, it focused people's attention on what's happening with the climate. But I don't think people are more annoyed than becoming aware. So if you want to make more people aware, there are other ways to do that through the arts. Don't attack the arts. Don't attack artworks in museums to create awareness. You're just annoying people, and you're making people not want to hear what you have to say, whether it's important to them or not. I think maybe a smarter way is to regroup and, I don't know, engage with artists who are creating work about the environment, about climate, and maybe create art about this in a more immediate way as opposed to protest in this manner. I find it really frustrating because I feel like it's not helpful to either end, to either group. It's not helpful to the art world, and it's not helpful to the climate and climate activists and educating people about climate change. So stop. Okay, moving on. Literature. This is a sad story. Goodreads are under fire as authors receive negative reviews before books are even released. So authors including Joe Furness, Millie Johnson, and Catherine Whitfield report unwarranted 1 or 2-star reviews on Goodreads for books not yet available, even as advanced review copies. Furness describes the experience as soul-destroying and criticizes Goodreads for failing to intervene despite multiple reports. The platform defends its community guidelines and says it's investigating flagged reviews. Still, authors say early negative ratings can damage careers, and the site's moderation system appears ineffective. The source for the story is the bookseller. This is very sad for multiple reasons. First of all, for the authors. I think it's completely fair to give a book a negative review after you've read it, obviously. And this is what I find strange about platforms like Goodreads, which I don't think I'm really on. I only ever read reviews after I've read the book. I don't really post my books, the books that I've read on there. I don't need another social media platform in my life. Thank you very much. But anyway, I think it's a very useful platform for a lot of readers and authors as well who want to promote their books. But at the same time, it's no man's land, right? You could go on there and do a million reviews about books that you've never read. I don't know. I don't really know what the answer to this is, except for that Goodreads needs to think about their moderation system and how to protect writers, debut writers, especially, because by doing that, you're actually protecting readers as well, and protecting the whole ecosystem of publishing and literature. So, crazy story. Okay, moving on to entertainment. This is great news. The Devil Wears Prada #2, the sequel, kicks off filming with original cast. So production is underway on The Devil Wears Prada 2, reuniting Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci in their iconic roles from the 2006 fashion world classic. Kenneth Branagh, I know who that is, but I can never pronounce his surname, joins the cast as Miranda Priestley's husband, adding a fresh dramatic weight to the sequel. Directed by David Frankel and written by Aline Brosh McKenna, the story picks up with Miranda facing the decline of print media while clashing with Emily, now a luxury brand executive. Adrian Grainer's character Nate will not return, and the film is set for release on May the 1st, 2026, so in less than a year. And that came from Variety. I love this news because, as many of you have been following me for a long time know, I'm a big fan of the film, like many people are. It's really a great film about journalism, about the fashion industry, about media, and about what it means, the journey that one takes, and what it means to follow your dreams and realizing maybe what you think your dream is isn't really your dream, or getting lost in the process of trying to, get your dream. I've read the novel, and I much prefer the film over the novel, which is a very rare occurrence, to be honest. But this shows the power of the writing of the film and the screenwriter. Her name was here. I just read it before. Aline Brosh McKenna. She wrote the screenplay for the first film. She did an amazing job. Really, really an amazing job. Like, I think elevating the book into this great script. So I'm and it's the same director, so I'm really excited about that. And I love the premise. I love the premise because it feels very relevant to what's happening now. That Marita Priestley is trying to figure out where she exists, where where fashion exists, where the publication exists in the digital world. And I think it's hilarious that Emily is like, who was her assistant, first assistant, is now leading this luxury retailer, luxury platform, and they need the money from the luxury platform. There's still no news about what Andy, Anne Hathaway's character, how she fits into all this, because at the end of the first film, she like left and ended up working in a newspaper, and so I'm not a fan of sequels. I'm not. When something is pristine, I mean, except in franchises, obviously, but when something is so pristine and so well done, like The Devil Wears Prada, I'm very dubious about doing something like this, because if it ain't broke, why fix it? I know there's like a huge cultural demand to see more from these characters. We like really love them, they're hilarious, and more of the story. So I can understand like that pressure and that need to create sequels sometimes with films and TV shows or reboots, and usually I'm not a fan. But I have faith in this. I have faith that because it's the same team, particularly the same director and the same writer, and I hope they really understand, I'm sure they understand, the cultural gravitas of this film, and the expectations are set so, so, so high that they will do it justice, I hope. And as if it was a wonderfully orchestrated PR stunt or divine timing, in the fashion world, Anna Wintour has stepped back after 37 years as US Vogue editor-in-chief. Dame Anna Wintour is stepping down as editor-in-chief of American Vogue after an influential 37-year tenure, though she will retain her roles as Condé Nast's global editorial director and chief content officer. Starting June 26th, which has already happened when this video comes out, she hands daily control of the US edition to a newly appointed head of editorial content, while continuing to oversee Vogue's international editions, Vanity Fair, GQ, Glamour, and Wired. Wintour will remain involved in major initiatives like the Met Gala and special projects. Her decision marks a major shift in fashion media leadership, and the source from this was the BBC. I think it's hilarious that this story comes out the same time as production begins on The Devil Wears Prada. I mean, everybody knows that Miranda Priestley, and the film is based loosely, or maybe very accurately, who knows, on Anna Wintour and what was happening at Vogue. So I think this is really interesting news, because there has been a lot of speculation online that Anna Wintour was forced to leave Vogue. She's 75. She's been there for decades and decades. And she's done a lot of amazing stuff on there during Vogue, and a lot of stuff that people have take issue with. In fact, I'm writing a story about this, so we'll park that for later. But people just assumed she's retiring from Condé Nast and Vogue. No, as I read, she is not going to be leading Vogue. She's still going to be involved in Vogue, but she's going to be, she has this, because she had two roles on Condé Nast, and she's going to be focusing on the much bigger role where she's overseeing all of these international publications. So whoever is going to be taking her place, and interestingly enough, their title won't be editor-in-chief, it'll be head of content, head of editorial content, which is, different title, different name. They'll be reporting to her. So she still holds a lot of control in fashion media. But I don't know, I feel like over the past year, maybe her input, her creative input in Vogue has not been as thorough. So I think this is interesting. It's an end of an era, whether you like that era or not, but you cannot deny Anna Wintour's influence in fashion and media and journalism as a kind of cultural icon. Everybody knows who she is. So this is really interesting. It'll be more interesting to see who will take on the helm of leading Vogue moving forward, and how they will change, or maybe they won't change, the language, the visual language, the brand of Vogue. It's still, I think, the most influential Vogue of all of the editions. So yeah, this is interesting news, and it also links up to the news in pop culture, which is Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez exchange vows in their lavish 3-day Venice wedding. Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez married in Venice from 26th to 28th of June in a multi-day spectacle that blended in high fashion, celebrity glamour, and local controversy. Held on San Giorgio um, and the Venetian Arsenal. The event featured custom couture from Dolce & Gabbana lace to Altier Versace pajamas, performances by Matteo Bocelli and Usher, and a star-studded guest list including Oprah, the Kardashians, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Brady, Bill Gates, Sydney Sweeney. But they were protesters who voiced concerns on over-tourism, while the couple aimed for minimal impact and donated to local preservation efforts. And that source comes from Vanity Fair. So obviously, unless you were living under a rock, this 3-day wedding has been all over media, social media, traditional media. Everyone's been talking about it. And people were particularly annoyed and frustrated that Lauren Sanchez was on the cover of Vogue with her wedding dress. To be clear, she was not on the cover of Vogue. She was on the cover of the digital edition of Vogue, which is very, very different than being on the cover of Vogue, the print edition. I think the digital edition, being on the cover of that, is not as much of a big deal. It's not like they flew in Anne Leibovitz to photograph her. It's something more attainable to be on the cover of the digital cover, in the celebrity, A-list celebrity world. So and people were sort of trying to connect the dots between Anna Wintour leaving and then Lauren Sanchez being on the cover of Vogue, as if she had no power over that. Or in fact, I think Anna Wintour would want them to be featured in the magazine. It kind of makes sense for that whole world. I wasn't as annoyed and frustrated by the exposure of this wedding. I mean, it was everywhere, but it wasn't like the Ambani wedding where we could not get away from the wedding. This, to me, and people have their gripe and their frustrations with Jeff Bezos as the billionaire of Amazon, and billionaires have a very bad rep and very bad. Their positioning is very bad in media and culture, and by the public, I mean particularly, and people were just angry, frustrated, and annoyed. But it's not that I wasn't, but I was, but I wasn't. I mean, what celebrities are gonna celebrities? They're gonna do their celebrity thing. They're gonna congregate in weddings, and they're gonna have a really random guest list. Like, I don't understand what Sydney Sweeney and Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Brady have to do with Lauren Sanchez and Jeff Bezos. But hey, the reason why this story and this couple haven't annoyed me and frustrated me as much as it seems to be annoying and frustrating most of the public is probably twofold. I thought the media coverage on this would be so much more dramatic and so much more in depth, and it would be everywhere, but it isn't. And secondly, as a couple, if you take away all of the super grand, I think that that's reported that this wedding cost like 50 million. I don't know if that's a true figure or not. If you take away all of that overexposure and all of the over the top stuff, as a couple, they're kind of just normal. I mean, I like the fact that he's just a billionaire and he has this kind of normal relationship with somebody that is age appropriate, somebody he's been with for quite a long time, and that they're choosing to get married when they don't need to. They've both been married before. They both have kids from previous relationships and marriages, and they seem to just generally be into each other, which is not a bad thing, compared to a lot of other high-profile couples who have like really huge weddings and they're like over the top and there's too much exposure, and the couples are, for lack of a better word, problematic. So I think it's just something that we're going to forget about. But yeah, and also I find it more interesting and I find it more frustrating for the Venetians, and I can understand why they are annoyed that people can spend this much money and this much time focusing on a wedding like this in their hometown when there's probably a lot of other problems there that are not being solved. So for that story and over 20 stories about culture, from arts, literature, fashion, entertainment, and pop culture. Click the link, head over, read the full list, share, engage, comment, subscribe, like, all the things. Do all the things. Because I really would love to know your thoughts on all or any of these stories. So thank you, and I will see you guys next week.